Hey Soul Family, welcome back to the channel. This is the White Feather Tarot, and in today's reading I wanted to do something very different. Today I'm shooting this on the Lionsgate portal, and I wanted to leave it open for the universe to deliver your message in a unique way that will touch you and the things that are going on in your life in a special way. And for this reason, I decided I wanted to do a reading where I look at the cards and tell you a complete story from once upon a time till the very end of where the story wants us to stop, because it's meant to give you a message about something that is going on in your life and inspire you towards something. And really, stories are one of the magical things that we channel from the universe to inspire us to do maybe even magical things in our lives. And this is why I chose this topic for today's reading. And I wanted you to look at the two piles and choose. Are you drawn to the sun, or are you drawn to the moon? And these will take you to their own stories. So take a look at the two decks and see which energy you're the most drawn to today. Perhaps on another day, you will feel like, I feel drawn to the other today. And you might want to listen to the story. Or perhaps you feel like listening to the two, some form of eclipse energy, a strong energy that you're meant to hear. This is really all up to what you want to do and how you want to approach this reading. But if you prefer to pick your piles using your zodiac signs, I will tell you what to do in a moment. But if you don't and you wish not to hear that part, please pause the video and take as much time as you need. But as mentioned, if you prefer to pick your piles using your zodiac signs, I also want to do it in a special way today. I want to have the fire signs and the air signs in pile number 1. And I want to have the earth and the water signs in pile number 2. Okay, so my dear soul family, this is how I wanted to deliver your message to you. I truly hope you enjoyed today. It's truly coming from every part of my heart. I feel inspired today to help you with your lives in a unique way. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. And once you're ready, you'll find the timestamps down in the description box. Click on your timestamps and I will see you in your readings. Hi, pile number 1. Hi, the sun pile. Welcome to your reading. Today, as you know, we're taking a look at your inspiration. I'm going to be taking a look at your cards, telling you a full story of what I see, and it's meant to inspire you with something pertaining to your life. Can't wait to begin your reading. Your crystal is the beautiful Moonlight Jasper. You're the sun pile. And let's get straight into it. So, Eight of Wands, Justice card, Six of Wands, Seven of Wands, the Sun card, Nine of Wands, the Empress, Page of Wands, Knight of Cups, and Five of Cups. Here goes. Hope you enjoy today's story and hope that it inspires you in something pertaining to your life. Once upon a time, there was a little boy who had so much energy and dreams towards life. He had all sorts of imagination of everything that he would set his eyes on. If he looked at the plants and the trees, he would instantly imagine all the different things that they could be and what they would look like if they were in other worlds. He imagined himself plunging into the water and getting into the world of the fish, passing on to them the technology and the sophistication that we have in today's world. Teach them about our games and schools and clothes and parks, and take all of their cool secrets and come back and be the first to tell everyone about it. This little boy was full of life, full of imagination, and was excited about everything that he did every minute of the day, even it seems when he was sleeping. In his parents' eye, however, he was not really seen with that type of magic. He was seen more as noisy, making a lot of fuss, moving a lot and potentially causing a lot of chaos with every idea that he gets. It looked like they were all sharing one world, but really they were experiencing absolutely two different worlds. He tried to invite them into his magical world every second, only to be disappointed by their lack of interest and even being annoyed by everything that he wants to share. This little boy was so full of life that it didn't bother him that much, at least in the beginning, with his parents' reactions. Until one day, his little brother came to life. And he noticed a completely different reaction and attention from his parents when his newborn brother arrived. They were more attentive, they were more loving, they were more caring than what he's used to from their side. But again, this little boy lived such a magical, rich life in his mind that to a great extent, that didn't bother him either. It wasn't until one day that he noticed that something was absolutely wrong going on from a simple comment that his father made without even thinking twice about it. Go help your mom prepare for your brother's party. He got his first B+. And initially, being full of life, he was so excited about that party that's gonna happen. And as he was going towards his mother, he realized instantly the look of pride his father had towards his brother. So he suddenly stopped his initial reaction, looked back towards his father and told him, "But father, I have always gotten A+. Don't you want to throw me a party too?" The father instantly realized and stumbled upon his words and said, yes, of course, we'll throw you a party. Just go help your mother for your brother's party. His brother, growing up, was so kind to him initially. They had a great relationship together. At least he was the one who understood that magical life that this little boy came from. They had so much fun together. They shared things together. But by time, the more his brother got spoiled by his parents, the more he felt the privilege and perhaps maybe even started feeling better than his older brother and started treating him in the same way. The older his brother grew, the more arrogant he became towards him. Nonetheless, his creativity gave him a huge way to vent out the anger that was pluming inside of his heart. He created a lot of creative outlets for his vast energy. He would go out into the town and find people struggling with something, a shop owner there who's trying to take his products out, or an old man who's trying to get something that he's looking for, this, that, and the other, and his creativity would come to life, and he would always find a way creatively to help whoever felt like they were in trouble in that time. And boy, did he have a blast outside. They called him the magical eagle, for his ability to come flying through, find magical solutions, make it happen, just like a superhero. Some people would call him Eagle, some people would call him Magic. He was just so popular in that town. And he was living this dual reality of being so popular outside and so unseen on the inside. But funny enough, it was the opposite for his family. So in control at home and yet so helpless socially with their interactions with their outside world. He has learned about the story of his parents from the streets, from what his friends and neighbors and all of the people he got to know about the story of his parents. They told him that it was rumored that his parents initially came from a faraway town, hiding from the Korkan spirit. The Korkan spirit? He exclaimed, "What is that?" Yes, that is a spirit that's usually neutral, but does not like to hear anyone laugh. And unfortunately, it seems like your parents were young and in love, in the wrong place and in the wrong time. They were laughing and sulking up life before he heard them and came out to curse them. And until today, they would never utter what they were cursed with. The son was really astonished. He told his friends, that is absolutely crazy. What spirit, Korkan, are you talking about? And my parents are far from fun, my friends. Ask me. And they told him, "Well, not with your brother, though." He would pause and say, "That's right." He thought it was a crazy story that the town shared about his parents so passionately, up to the point of not talking to them, perhaps fearing the curse that they're not talking about, thinking it was crazy. They looked very boring. But the little times that he saw his parents having fun with his brother is one of the few times that he would contemplate about the story. The one time that he finally summoned up his courage to go and finally feed his curiosity about this story and ask his parents if it was true, his parents exclaimed, Who? Curtain? You know, if you did anything better, like educate yourself and read more science-based books, perhaps you wouldn't be spending that much time in the streets anyway. That was it, I guess, he exclaimed. It was worth a try, though. I guess it was a fun story to experience. Maybe it helped ease my anger towards them a little bit. He was determined that one day he would be old enough to leave this place, where he never felt he belonged anyway, and go out and pursue his dreams. He was so full of life. He knew that the sky was the limit. And finally, that day has come. It was a week left before this little boy was to be free and leave everything that he didn't like behind to go towards his dreams. Already, everyone in town was asking him and begging him to come work with him, to come work for him, to start a project with him. It seems like everyone in life was waiting for that little boy to come out, and life was looking bright. He wasn't so concerned about taking everything with him. He wanted to leave almost everything behind. He packed up the important things to him in a small bag and was ready to set off. When he heard his brother saying, "Hey, Eric and Julia are calling you in the kitchen. They want to talk to you before you go," he said, "Why are you calling Mom and Dad with their names?" And he said, "Well, I didn't want to say Mom and Dad so that you don't cry. Boo-hoo-hoo." And he was shocked. He told his brother, "No, that's okay. I think they would be the ones pretty hurt to call themselves mother and father for me. Please give them my goodbyes." He closed the door and he looked at the sun for a new day, closing the door on an old chapter of what he called arrogance. And he had such a strong urge for life that if he wasn't careful with that amount of urge and power, it could be lethal and even destructive. Whenever he encountered anyone excited to take him on board and do creative things together to make dreams come true, he would feel frozen and would say, no, I don't think we're gonna be doing that together. But you were so excited about it. And he would say, "I'm so sorry, but I don't think this is what I would want to do." And he would say no and no and no and no to everyone, encountering a new type of challenge in life that he never knew anything about, called decision paralysis. Now he was experiencing a totally opposite energy of everybody wanting him with them. And sometimes when you are so blessed, if you're not careful and balanced, that too can be destructive. But little did he know back then, and kept saying no after no after no after absolutely no to everyone, until at some point everyone started feeling discouraged to ask him for anything. And he would always reply, "But I'm meant to do more. I'm meant to create more. I know I want to do something bigger." "Fine. What is this bigger? Tell us about it." But he would simply shrug and say, "I don't know." Not before too long, everyone went back to their business, to their old lives, and stopped being that excited any longer about taking him on board. And before long, the town couldn't support him because it was a town that wasn't that well off. They couldn't support him until he found out what it is that he wanted to do, for it was taking far too long. And suddenly, he found himself hungry and even homeless, not being able to ask anyone for any more favors. And in a short span of time, he realized that he ruined the reputation that he built his life creating. No one wanted to work with him anymore. Being full of pride and a little ashamed, perhaps, he didn't want to ask anyone for a small job now. Anything, just to make ends meet. Learning more about life now. So his only option was to pack his bag again and be ready to go off to another town, starting from the very beginning. "Goodbye, old town," he exclaimed before closing a second door, this time one he didn't expect, and move on to the new horizon. This time, learning a new lesson, a great lesson that humbled him. Deciding that he would be so grateful to find any job that anyone would offer him, that he would be so happy with it, and find his creative energy into that job. And after days and days and days of sailing, which is something that he learned from his friends and really enjoyed doing back then, he found a small town. It looked much simpler, but he loved simple. He can imagine all the creative things already he can do in this town. He had so many ideas, and all of that passion made him stop, tie his boat, and the first person that he saw was a fisherman. He was carrying the fish that he got on that day, trying to take it to his home. So first thing he did was jump in, try to carry it with him, and the fisherman thanked him. "Thank you, my dear young boy, but I have my 3 sons who can help me with this. Thank you for your help, but I don't need any help at the moment." Politely, he thanked him and went along his way again. This time, he found a carpenter. hammering nails, and decided to watch him from afar before he makes any moves, and noticed he was beating and hitting and hammering one nail after the other, and it seemed to take him hours. The sun was scorching, the carpenter was tired, and it seems like he had so much to go. He looked around really well to see if maybe the carpenter had 3 old men who he would say, I have my boys or girls who help me out. Thank you so much. But after an hour or 2, he saw no one coming to help this man. He thought it was his cue. He approached the carpenter and introduced himself to him and asked him what he was doing. And the carpenter told him that he's building 20 ships. 20 ships, he exclaimed. And the carpenter said, yes, that is the offer of a lifetime. I've never had an offer this big before, but I have to finish them before the end of this month. And the boy exclaimed, well, at the rate that you're going with, do you realize that you're not going to finish it before the end of the month? And the carpenter said, listen, young boy, I have no time for chit-chat. But the boy insisted and gave him this idea that he explained of how he can use magnets to hammer in several nails at the same time. The carpenter thought it was impossible, but when he showed it to him, it worked. The carpenter was impressed. For the many years he has worked, he never thought of this idea or how to apply it in this way. And he immediately offered him a job. The boy was so happy to take it, and he was excited to show this carpenter all the brilliant other ideas that he has to not just make these 20 ships, but to make thousands even in the future. And he went right into it. He used the windmills to his favor, the waves of the river to his favor. He used the nearby waterfall to his favor. Heck, he even deployed some animals having fun in a nearby forest to his favor. Only for the carpenter to stop him and say, not the animals, leave the animals alone. But I'm having fun with them. Leave the animals alone. And he was so happy because he not only started learning how to make things work in the way he always imagined, although it was such a simple job and then the things he always imagined he wanted to do, but he also was learning the ethics of how to do it without hurting the things around him. And before they knew it, towards the end of the month, not only did they create 20 ships, but they created 50 ships. And that was just the beginning. Not before long, the whole town heard about him. They were raving about him, and the carpenter would proudly introduce him as the magical eagle, as he first introduced himself to him. And there goes the rise once again of the magical eagle. Not before long, everyone in the town wanted to collaborate with him and create these creative so-called factories that he was coming up with. Everyone had an idea there that he or she wanted to apply with his creativity. And one day, as he was being celebrated by the town, our magical eagle, our hero, an eagle, a real eagle, comes appearing in, flies in, catches the magical eagle, the little boy, and takes him up a tree, a very high oak tree. Everyone gasped. The music stops, and the whole town starts circling around this oak tree, forming a huge circle down there of many people going around this oak tree, looking up. What is this eagle doing with magical eagle? How can we save him? He would have been the one with the ideas. The boy looks at the eagle, absolutely terrified and shaking. And the eagle tells him, put yourself together, little boy. If you're afraid of me, what are you going to do about Corkin? Corkin? Listen to me closely, young man. This is a moment in life that will either break you or make you. But I'm scared. Well, my dear, life will flow anyway, in its highs and its lows, whether you are prepared or not. But I don't even know who's Corkin. Low down your voice. Are you trying to call for him? Korkin is the spirit that doesn't like laughter. And you have been making this town laugh and laugh all too loud. And this is his town, my dear. Korkin is the spirit that cursed your parents for loving and laughing too loud. Fortunately for you, you were the yang in that curse because you were already in the womb. And you took out of this all of the power that would one day save everyone from the very evilness of Korkin. You are the fated person who is going to end all of this. And I frankly don't know how you're going to end all of this when you're sweating profusely and shaking like a little child. And so he said, well, maybe because I'm not supposed to solve it the way you're expecting me to. Why doesn't Korkin want anyone to laugh? And the eagle was taken aback. He said, I don't know, that's not important. And he told him, no, that is what is important. Why doesn't Korkin want to laugh? And the eagle said, I don't know, Anna, we're not going to waste any more time. And he said, I will not solve this and I will not budge to save me and everyone until you tell me and find out why Korkin doesn't laugh and doesn't want anyone to laugh. So the eagle had to accept the situation, asked him to stay a little bit on the tree until he went back to his huge library and look again from the very beginning on why Korkin doesn't want to laugh. And the time that the eagle took to go back and look at this library is the very time that everyone was still standing down there, everyone waiting to see what is going on. Fate was being created. And after days and days of what the eagle felt was a huge waste of time, he finally came back to the magic eagle. Finally back with the news, he told him, it's interesting. He's called the neutral spirit because throughout his whole existence, he never harmed anyone. But surprisingly, when his beloved wife died, the love of his whole life, he started cursing everyone after a while. He became alone and bitter whenever he saw anyone happy. So the magic eagle said, before you made sure that this is truly the correct label and analysis that you have of Korkin, did anyone, it's Korkin, not Krokin, Korkin, before you give me any speeches. Yes, Korkin. Did anyone give their condolences? Did anyone express their empathy for that very sad moment? Express their sorry for how he's feeling? Having lost his whole heart like that? The eagle looked ashamed, looking down at everyone with his face falling down, said no. The magic eagle said, well, you're wasting your time with the wrong person. Get down and ask for the best artist down there to draw a huge portrait of his beautiful lover. And once everyone's done, I want everyone to stand in unity and ask, what song do they all know? And when everything was ready, the eagle came back up and said, okay, everyone's in place. Everyone's ready. And he said, let them all stand in unity and sing the song that they all know. And suddenly, everyone started singing. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. And suddenly I heard a loud cry. collective empathy was bittersweet. Maybe he can never get his beloved wife back for now. But the collective care and love, and most importantly, acknowledgement of the importance of how he felt was very healing. He was able to move on, and he promised to never cast a spell on anyone who laughs again. The eagle, astonished, went back to the magical eagle and asked him, "How did you do that? How do you find creative ideas like that?" He said, "What you think is magic is really the light. And when there is a challenge, you must really look with the light at the spaces that are so dark. Sometimes we don't want to look at them. Sometimes we forget about them. At other times, we can only see them when we genuinely care. But it is only through reaching the roots, bringing the light to the roots, that you can make a plant rise. This is the light." And my dear pile number 1, this was your story today. I truly hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a reading that I upload. And my dear pile number 1, I'll catch you in the next reading. Bye. Hi, pile number 2, the pile of the moon. Welcome to your reading. As you know, today we are taking a look at your tarot cards to see a story that is meant to inspire you in today's reading. Let's get straight into it and see your cards. Ooh, the moon card. Each pile got their card. How interesting. So you have the moon card, the world card, the ace of swords, you have the 9 of pentacles, the emperor, you have the magician, the 3 of swords, the page of swords, and the last 2 cards are the 9 of cups, 9 of pentacles, 9 of cups, wow. And you have the chariot. I hope you enjoy your story today and that it inspires you towards something in life. Once upon a time, there was an emperor who, in his prime, had a vast power over so many places, and you'd think that he must have started so much war and killed so many people and frightened so many others to get that type of power. But when you talk to his people, they love him. They say that he is the true leader, the real leader that they've ever met, that they were so lucky to have an emperor who genuinely cares in this way. They saw that there were constant changes that were happening all around the different areas to make sure that they were well fed, well taken care of, entertained, and that their area was constantly flourishing and blossoming. And no, he never asked anyone to sing him any songs or to celebrate him. He really had his head down. He wanted to make sure that he helped these people. He was so concerned about making it a great place to live for everyone, and that it constantly grew to fit the people's needs. And so the people would sing songs from the heart for him. They would thank him, and they were always so proud. This whole empire was glued together because of the love and pride of everyone, and not because of the fear and battles that perhaps other emperors used to keep their empire. Little do so many people know that this emperor came from humble beginnings. He had a mother, a single mother, that adored him to pieces. When she first had her child, she was lucky to know a nearby oracle. So she took her son and went to the oracle. She asked her, "Oh, I am so poor. What is the fate of my son?" The oracle paused, looked at her son, looked back at her and told her, "Your son is one day going to be a great emperor." "My son?" she proclaimed. "A great emperor?" "Yes, but be careful. The very thing that will bring him high up will be the very thing that will bring him down low if he's not careful." And although she went back home feeling relieved, she still came back home with another problem to worry about. She didn't know what would be the very thing that would bring him up, but would also be the very thing to bring him down. "Well, I guess I've got many years to figure this one out," she exclaimed. One thing she wanted to do was to make him ready for this role that he would take one day, with the hopes that with the many skills that he would have, he wouldn't fall. So with the little means that she had and the people around her that she knew, she tried to teach him all the different things that she could. If her brother was a musician, she would ask him and plead if he would teach him music. If there were free acting classes, she would put him in these acting classes. If there was any scouting opportunity, she would make sure that he would join. And she would save and save and save to make sure that whenever an opportunity for learning arose, that she was ready to help him engage in all of these different learnings and for him to explore all the different talents, for him to find out who he truly is better and become skilled at many different things. And with a little bit of creativity, she also encouraged him to engage in different jobs, to understand things early on. She would ask him to ride chariots. She would ask him to become a performer and even a dancer sometimes. She encouraged him to join the military when he's needed. She tried in many different ways to put him in many different experiences. This way, he would be well prepared for his huge role. And every time she would do something nice for him, his eyes would be filled with tears. And he would ask her, "But Mom, how can you afford to do all these nice things for me?" Her eyes equally filled with tears. She would tilt her head and look at him with great pride. And she would tell him, "When you have your own children, you will know." Until one day, the prophecy came true. The old emperor was so corrupt, but he had a weak point. He was so in love with his younger wife that was notorious for cheating on him. Day and night, she would be cheating with this person and that guy and this person, and the emperor was going crazy. And at one of his weak points, everyone rallied to bring him down. And it was over just like that. With a blink of an eye, a powerful emperor going down for his sobbing over his loved one. Not to mention the rumors that were going around of everyone talking about how his wife disrespected him every single day. And that he was doing nothing about it except sobbing every night. To a huge area, they weren't feeling safe with this emperor anymore. Words started coming out like, well, if he can't handle his own private life, how is he going to handle everyone? At that time, our prophesied emperor was still in the military. This is where he really built his reputation. He was always on time. He was always honest. He displayed great strength and integrity. And due to the many, many skills that he had, he was able to do his job in the best way required. That integrity always stayed with him. No matter how much he grew, no matter how many awards he's gotten, the more he got paid, whatever happened, he always stayed true to who he was and honest to everyone around him. Whenever anything was needed, he was always courageous, strong, willing to fight, and to bring justice whenever it's needed. His reputation was starting to grow as the Iron Man who never changes. And what they all meant by that is that no matter what happens, he never lost his integrity. He never engaged in the gossip either about what the emperor was doing or what the emperor was going through. But he was needed for a huge role in the empire's plan to bring a corrupt emperor down. They knew that he was great at acting. And it was a role that only he can do, because they needed someone who was an actor, a great actor, but at the same time, someone who's got the strength to handle such a huge situation like that. And so they talked to him and they convinced him to play a grand role on a day like that. He was to act as both the emperor's wife and the cheater, triggering the anger of the emperor to come and find out what's going on down there. And once he showed up, he had to have the strength of a soldier to hold him until everyone would come and capture the emperor. It had to be in such an intimate place so that his other soldiers and army wouldn't be killing everyone. And surprisingly, in a split of a second, a blink of an eye, they were able to capture the emperor just like that. And everyone rallied around him. They celebrated the coming down of a terrible emperor, their opportunity and intelligence of bringing him down, and the hero, the newfound hero that everyone rallied around. The Iron Man who never changes. The Iron Man who never changes. The Iron Man who never changes. And since they started chanting to him like that, it was a long history of everyone loving that emperor and chanting from the heart in their belief in him. And he, in turn, never changed and stood as an Iron Man, making sure that everybody is content. His dear mother was right. When she wanted him to be prepared for this role, she made sure he knew a lot of things about life. And boy, did they always come in handy. And whenever he remembered just how much she worked and saved to make this happen, he would have his eyes fill with tears. And remember when she told him, when you have your children, you will understand. And one day, at the height of his power, when he felt like he had the world at the palms of his fingers, of his hands, his dear mother died. But before she died, and as he was crying next to her, she put her hand on his head and she told him, "Dear son, there is something I never told you. When you were born, I visited an oracle, and she had predicted that you will, in fact, one day become a great emperor. But she also told me that the very thing that will bring you up would be the very thing that would bring you down. I tried to figure out for years what it was that would bring you up, but at the same time bring you down. But I could never figure it out. My son. The emperor reflected, thought about it, and he said, well, they call me the Iron Man who never changes. Do they want me to be weak and change? Never. I would never do that. His mother said, oh, my beautiful child, your golden heart was the biggest blessing that I've ever had, and the biggest blessing that everyone here has ever had. Never change, my Iron Man, but reflect upon the oracle's words. And she passed away. Filled with great tears and sorrow, the emperor cried for many days over his beloved mother. But she didn't leave, as always, without a beautiful gift for him. For the very nurse that was taking care of his mother during the last days was a beautiful lady inside and outside. She was the one standing by him during his very sad days, sobbing with him, comforting him. And during their deep talks and conversations, a new love, a new spark of love has begun between the two of them. And before they knew it, they were inseparable. There was a much stronger bond that was being created between the two of them. They've built a friendship together. They've built a beautiful relationship together. And soon after, they got married and they had their first twins. 2 little twin boys that were beautiful and healthy little babies. And just when he thought he couldn't experience any more love with the love that he had with his wife and the love that he shared with the people around him who believed in him every single day, there now shows up his 2 beautiful sons, who for the first time when he looked at them, his heart blew out of his chest, feeling a new type of love. One that he, for the first time, couldn't explain or describe. It was something very different. He felt his heart cracked open inside of his chest, and that all of a sudden he wanted to give all of the world to his little 2 sons. And for a long while, all was good in the emperor's life and his beautiful wife and children. They grew up feeling the love of their parents. And the more they grew, the more everyone was surprised about the type of gifts and the type of huge things the emperor was giving to his children. And while they admired his love for his children, they were concerned that they would grow up arrogant, ungrateful, not having a real touch of reality, and perhaps even lacking empathy. No matter how many people spoke to the emperor about this, nothing would change. He would always repeat the same thing. When you have children, you will understand. Even the mother started getting very concerned about this. And one day, the inevitable happened. His 2 children were now teenagers, on their chariot with their privileged friends, racing across the fields together. And in a moment when they got caught up so much into the race, they forgot everything but to win. And they knocked down and spoiled the harvest of a farmer who worked all year to make it happen, running over it and ruining his entire crops. As the farmer got up in horror, looking at the chariots and his crops, the bigger issue, the bigger shock, was realizing that the emperor's sons didn't even care about the crops. They just moved on and laughed about it to continue on their racing. The farmer, shaking at what just happened, went to the emperor and told him about the whole scene that he saw and the harvest that he lost. The emperor was mortified to learn about what his children have done, and he instantly ordered for the crops to be replaced and for his children, 2 children, to go work in his farm and be treated exactly as everyone else there. That the farmer would give them the regular salaries that they would give the rest of the farmers, for them to work for 2 years building back what they have done. The farmer was too embarrassed to take on that offer, but the emperor ordered they would not come back until this farm was yielding an abundant harvest. His wife was not amused. How can he take such a drastic decision for the future of their children without even consulting his own partner? She was upset for days and did not speak to the emperor. He tried explaining that it was only right to sometimes go from one extreme to another to find the middle ground, only to hear back the wise words of his wife: a family decision is a family decision. Feeling very broken about the many changes that happened all of a sudden, he asked his wife, "How can I make this better? How can I make it up to you with this mistake?" And she responded, "You must make it up to your children, who you are throwing into a difficult experience without any type of preparation. I too will be living in this farm with them these years, so that they have a shoulder to cry on, that they have support going through from an extreme to another. We have to have an open ear with them to see how we can take them through this transition smoothly, experiencing what they need to experience, but also considering that they were never prepared for it and it would be traumatic on them." Initially shocked that he would spend years without his family, the very thing he loved the most in life, he also realized that it was his fault. He was the one who made them overindulge from the very beginning. And so it was. These years were bitter for everyone in this small family. And then suddenly he remembered the words of his mother before she passed away. She told him that the oracle said the very thing that will bring him up would be the very thing that would bring him down. He got disturbed for a moment and started going up and down and up and down, up and down. Is this my downtime? Is this the fate of the oracle? Will I and my family be brought down? And while the emperor always wanted to be there, only when his people wanted him to be there, he was also concerned about the fall itself and the many changes to happen with this fall, especially on the very people he loved with all of his heart. And with several sleepless nights, he finally invited the oracle to kindly come to the palace. The oracle accepted his invitation, being a huge fan of the emperor herself, and she was very happy to meet him. And after a warm welcome and a pleasant reminiscence of the past, he asked her about the very fall she had predicted when he was just a newborn child. She took a deep breath and looked at him. And she said, "There is no fall." The emperor, perplexed, he looked at her and he said, "But this is my mother's advice before she died. I remember she told me you have said that." The oracle replied, "Well, it seems that you have changed your reality. your fate has changed. And that is because your energy and the way you think has changed. In every experience, good or bad, we must know that we tend to learn good things as well as potentially harmful things for us and the people around us. And only through the wisdom of always looking within to discover what are the good things and what are the potentially harmful things do we constantly change our destinies. Your mother was very giving. She taught you how to be a kind, giving person. She taught you how to love and how to honor your family. She did a great job there. But the circumstances that you grew up in was very different from the circumstances that your children grew up in. And not realizing that every great aspect that we have, and also every challenging aspect that we may have, holds both a gift and perhaps chaos within it. We must always realize that what served us at one time may not necessarily serve us at another. And being the emperor, the Iron Man who never changes, is not the right belief to hold. The emperor truly reflected on the oracle's wise words, realizing that every experience and every characteristic has a double-edged sword, is a double-edged sword. And we must constantly have the wisdom to get the feedback of every experience in order to navigate better and constantly change our destinies. He was suddenly also very happy with his wife's decision, and decided to use his alone years to do what he does best. And that is to make the empire a better place. He wanted to create camps across the whole empire for all of the privileged children to have the privilege to use their time to serve the people. And from there, a great exchange would happen. Some people would get much needed help, and others would get the opportunity to learn much needed life skills and be more grounded, grateful, empathetic people. And from that day forward, he asked them to never call him again the Iron Man who never changes, because he is their devout servant, and they are the empire that encourages positive change, even to the positive things. And my dear pile number 2, this is exactly what I see as your story in the cards. I truly hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a reading that I upload. And my dear pile number 2, I'll catch you in the next reading. Bye!